Welcome back to LendAPI Academy. My name is Kay, and this is episode 2 in our Rules and Decision series. In this series, we're going to be diving deep into our decision engine as well as our pricing engine. We're going to be utilizing the functionalities and features of these two engines to be able to build out one of the more complex lending products, specifically a mortgage loan. So we left off in the first episode going through our pre-build application and creating our first decision tree to be able to route the application in the right format, meaning specifically if there is a co-borrower instance, we want to make sure we capture that. And of course, ignoring that for all other users who do not have the co-borrower. Now, today, in this episode, we are actually going to start to create some more direct filters and rules specific for this particular loan to be able to filter out and decline any users that may not pass our baseline criteria. So, of course, the first thing we need to do, as always, is make sure our variable studio and our decision outcomes are set. So, going into decision outcomes, we created a personal loan or PL approved mortgage loan. And then in our decline, we also have a PL declined instance as well. So we will be utilizing these to write our rules. And then in our products, in our variable studio, we have all of our variables ready to be leveraged. But there's one more derived variable I want to add to be able to make sure our rules for mortgage lending is robust. And that specific derived variable is going to be our LTV, or loan to value ratio. And we are going to be calling this as LTV. And this, of course, will be a percentage. Now, for those that have watched the first series in the LendAPI Academy, understand that the derived variable is leveraged to create essentially small models, if you will, filters, if else statements, and mathematical expressions. And of course, you always have the capability to check exactly what is offered in the derived variable utilizing our documentation. So for the LTV, or loan to value, we are going to be leveraging a couple of different criterias. The first of which, to calculate an LTV, is usually the loan amount over the sale price of a home. So for us, we do not have a loan amount because that is part of the criteria to determine. But what we do have is a down payment. So we can create the loan amount based on what is put down in down payment. So let's go through and fetch our property price, sale price. And of course, all you have to do is simply click this variable and add it to your expression window. And then second, we will fetch the down payment. And add it here. Of course, the sale price minus our down payment should get us the loan amount. And then finally, this will of course be divided again by the sale price, or price of the house. And always remember to check your expression to make sure all of the data types pass, and this passes. And of course, you can always test your expression. Oh, we have to remember to save, and let's test. And our sales price, let's put 1 million, and then our down payment will be 300,000, and test, and we get a value of 0.7, or in this case 70% for our LTV. Looks good. Now let's publish it. Because of course the derived variable is a small model, we want to make sure we always check. So this is our version 1, and let's publish and start to write some rules. Okay, now that we have all of our variables, let's create some rules specific for our mortgage loan. And we are going to start with the first rule, which is, let's say, we're going to call it step 1 for our PL mortgage. And the description of this will be base filters for mortgage. Submit this. And of course, we're back to our editing studio within our decision engine, and we can start creating some decision trees. So the first thing we need to check for always is a employment. So we want to make sure that the employment for said user is not unemployed, because of course if you are unemployed you do not qualify for our mortgage loan. So we are going to create this where it says unemployed if employment does contain this particular instance. So if you remember correctly, employment is a drop-down list. So if they select unemployed, it will be an automatic decline, unfortunately. So we'll save this rule, and then let's create some child nodes. So of course, if it does contain unemployed, it will, the first of which will be a decline, and this will be an action. And of course, when we set decline, we'll set it as decline, and then we will choose the right outcome. Now, going back, let's add another node into our decision tree for what happens next after the employment type has been passed. So just to jog our memories a little bit, going back to our application, you'll see we do ask for FICO scores, we ask for employment, we ask for annual income, we also ask for co-borrower information as well as some financial information, and then finally the property information. And so I think what we'll do next is let's create some baselines with our FICO score as well as our debt to income ratio. We are utilizing debt to income ratio in this particular product to understand our borrower's financial information a little bit more. So if employment type has passed, the next check we will do is going to be a FICO check. So that will be a rule in itself. And we don't necessarily want to operate in super base, or I would say subprime. So I think for us, we're going to create the FICO score that we're collecting here so the FICO score for the main borrower must be greater than or equal to, I think for us we'll do 550. And one of the cool things is you can add to each node another set of decisions. So let's do that. For this, we're going to add another variable to this particular node, because we are also creating a co-borrower. So we also don't want our co-borrowers to have very low FICO scores, because of course it drags down the overall credit rating. So we're going to now ask to have the co-borrow scores, again, must be greater or equal to 550. And you'll notice here that as part of this particular node, you have a logic gate associated with it, meaning is it a or and? Of course, or means that either one of these operations would trigger an action. And then, of course, and would mean both of these have to equal in order to trigger an action. So with that, if either one of our main borrower, or if they have a co-borrower, if either one of them has a FICO score of less than 550, unfortunately, we will have to do an auto decline. So let's create the node for that. So if you are not 550 or more, unfortunately, you will have a decline. And this will, of course, be an action. And with our decline, we will save it as a decline action and continue. And then for the final node of this particular tree, we're actually going to leverage a debt-to-income ratio, or DTI check. So for this, we actually created a derived variable for DTI. Oh, I leveraged the wrong one. So we're going to do a DTI check as an action to add to our child node. So the DTI check, of course, is going to be, it's going to be a rule, and we are going to be leveraging this with utilizing our DTI, which we created, I believe, PLD, debt to income. And we don't want a super high DTI, obviously, which means that if your debt to income is over a certain ratio, we unfortunately cannot provide you with a loan. So for this, we need to make sure that our DTI is less than or equal to, and we're going to create a DTI because this is a mortgage loan, so it's rather large. So we're going to leverage the DTI of 65, and it is a percentage. In the way usually DTI is calculated is your gross debt over your gross income. So we are going to save this rule, and of course this will come with its own actions. The first of which is, of course, if you do not have a DTI of less than 65, you will unfortunately be declined. And this will trigger into an action. And then, of course, if you do have a DTI of over 65, we will trigger this into an approved. And this right now we will set as an action itself. But this does not mean this is the end of this particular decision tree. We've only started the first step. We want to add a few more nuances to this decision tree, which means that what we want to do is we want to set another decision tree to connect to this. And that's what we'll do in the next video. I will showcase how we can actually create what we call child trees. And child trees are essentially an independent branch that will run as part of a greater decision tree. And those child trees for the next video will feature some more nuances and set some more rules to combine to the greater decision tree. So thank you for watching this video, and join us next time for more of our rules and decision series. And as always, please follow and subscribe for more content. Thank you.